We are a technical education company. Part of our business is to build and connect tech and entrepreneurial ecosystems. So one side of our company is, I'm sure what you've seen on our website, the tech boot camp. So you can learn full stack development, you can learn web design. We teach UX, data science, a lot of great courses. And then we do a lot of corporate training as well for companies, both internally and helping to bring in and train new talent. We host a bunch of events like this, some online. Oh, there goes Richard. And some in-person events. So we're so excited you chose to join us. I think I see a good number of people just hopped on. And thank you so much for the question, Rambot. I appreciate it. My name is Mary. For those just joining us, I am the Director of Partnerships and Events at Tech Talent South. We're super glad you decided to spend the evening with us, and we are featuring today Richard Carthon. I'm sure you saw the bio, but just in case you missed it, he is a rising fintech thought leader and a serial software entrepreneur. Richard's gained notoriety from his collaborative approach to challenging the existing practices of startups, small businesses, and established firms. His innovative perspective and meticulous follow-through deliver cutting-edge, simplified solutions that consistently exceed expectations. He founded the Crypto Current to give access to information on current events occurring in cryptocurrency and blockchain in a digestible way. And in March 2019, he hosted the inaugural Crypto Current Conference in New Orleans, Louisiana's first ever exclusive cryptocurrency and blockchain conference. He's also part of the New Orleans exclusive cryptocurrency fund, Crescent City Capital. So I'll let Richard take it away. We will make sure we leave time at the end for Q&A. So start saving your questions now. We definitely want to hear from you. And I will reappear when it is time. Are you ready, Richard?
I'm ready. And about how much time should I leave for Q&A at the end?
About 30 minutes. Is that good?
That's good. Okay.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Thank you.
All right, let's get after it. Thank you so much for that very warm introduction. And for everyone that's tuning in, welcome. I hope you are excited to get an introduction into the world of cryptocurrency and blockchain. I'm really going to break down the simplicity, well, make it as simple as possible. And then I am going to kind of, as we go through the progression of what is cryptocurrency, what is blockchain, show you some examples of some use cases today, where it's headed. And if you have any complex questions, we'll get to it. But more than anything, I want to explain the reason I started cryptocurrency in the first place was about a year ago. I was working at an artificial intelligence company, and the first day on the job, boss comes up to me and says, what have you heard about cryptocurrency? And I said, nothing. I said, well, you should probably look into it. And so I did. I went down the rabbit hole, and 2 years later, here I am, very deep into it, very knowledgeable in it, and immersed in this amazing opportunity that is cryptocurrency and blockchain. And what was crazy to me was most of the people who have heard about cryptocurrency or blockchain, the first thing they do is usually write it off, because one, things that you don't understand or you don't know, it's easy to just count off and be like, oh, that's crazy, or that's a scam, or whatever. But until you have someone really break down the basics to you and explain, here's why this can work, here's why this is important, here's how, why you should be paying attention, then maybe it'll strike a chord where you want to go and search a little bit more. It sparks curiosity, and you're like, I didn't know that. Let me look a little bit deeper into it. And that's what happened to me early when I got into it. When I got introduced to it, something like resonated with me to where it made sense. And it was after I had multiple people sit down and break down basics of different elements of cryptocurrency and blockchain, where I was like, okay, I'm in. Let me see how much I can learn. And that's when I started Cryptocurrent, which is a podcast where I interview different people working in cryptocurrency and blockchain to be able to, one, learn what they're working on, but then two, be able to give that knowledge back to people in a digestible way. So that's a little background on me. That's where how I got involved in this amazing world that is cryptocurrency and blockchain. And now we are going to dive into this webinar. So first and foremost, who created cryptocurrency and why? So back in 2008, that was when the financial crisis happened, and it happened in the housing market. And once this happened, of course, it was a chain reaction to where not only did this affect the United States, it's internationally had waves and ripple effects that caused multiple countries to have to deal with this financial uncertainty. So when this happened, this person or group of people named Satoshi Nakamoto proposed what is now Bitcoin. And then officially, Bitcoin came into existence in 2009. So what was the purpose of it? It was Satoshi came together because they wanted a means of exchange of independent of any central authority, and it could be done electronically and secure, and it could be verified in an immutable way. I'm going to break down all of that in a little bit. But the reason why it was birthed in the first place was in response to the financial crisis of 2008. And so now we're going to go into what is cryptocurrency. So at its base, cryptocurrency is a digital virtual currency that uses cryptography for security, making it basically impossible to double spend or to counterfeit. So why is that important? Number one, what is one of the quickest ways when things go wrong in people's economies that they do? They print more money, causing more inflation. I'm gonna get more into that later, but inflation isn't good. How do you stop inflation? How do you stop from just more things being printed and the opportunity to be able to counterfeit something? Cryptocurrency. So it also is built on blockchain. So before I can truly dive into cryptocurrency, I have to give you a basic knowledge and understanding of what is blockchain. So I'm going to spend some time right now just giving you some basic knowledge on what is blockchain. So blockchain is an incorruptible digital ledger of economic transactions that could be programmed to record not just financial transactions, but virtually everything of value. So dialing that back a little bit, what does that mean? A block is digital information. So anytime that you do anything on the internet, there is something that follows you that like logs all of that data in a place. But also you could think of it as a thesaurus. You could think of it as a dictionary. You could think of anything that has information that is being digitally put somewhere. And then the chain, the blockchain, the chain itself is the digital database. So you have in this database basically a bunch of blocks that make it. And as you're putting more blocks into this database, there's always a chain of events. There's always a way that you can trace and go all the way back to where something started. And you can see what changed along each block. So I'm gonna break this down a little bit more for those who are still probably scratching their head a little bit. So how does blockchain work? So number one, a transaction must occur. So we'll start with something basic, a transaction. So you want to go buy Starbucks coffee. So you go to the store and you have your transaction, you get Starbucks coffee. So then that transaction must be verified. So once you pay with your credit card, it goes up and it verifies like, hey, is this credit card legit? Does it have enough money in here? XYZ. So it must be verified. So then number three, it must be stored in a block. So where is that data then located from your credit card, right? So it goes to the database that's in your bank. It goes to your banking statement, to whatever credit card you're using, and then it also goes back to Starbucks, letting them know that, hey, this transaction just happened. But then it must be given a hash. So what does the hash do? So basically, once it has all been stored, it's basically your receipt. So it's a digital receipt that says like, hey, this transaction happened. Here it is. Here's the date. Here's the timestamp. Here is all of these things that basically then gives you a blueprint of this is when this happened. So when you're doing your accounting or you're doing your books, and they always say like, keep track of all your receipts in XYZ. In the digital world, that is blockchain. Imagine where this is all happening in the background. It's all being stored in this place that cannot be disrupted, and it is being securely verified against a database that cannot be broken. So hopefully that nice scenario that I just painted for you works out, but I'll go a little bit deeper. If anyone has questions later, happy to go back and touch on this. So in a very basic explanation, this is what blockchain is. And now that you have the foundation of what is blockchain, we can now go into cryptocurrency. So number one, we got to go to 5 basic principles of Bitcoin. And the reason I'm starting with Bitcoin is that basically all cryptocurrencies come from Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the standard. It is the golden compass. It holds the key to everything that has come after it. Now, yes, a lot of these other cryptocurrencies, which are known as altcoins, alternatives to Bitcoin, all of these have their own use cases, and some of them, based on the original reason why Bitcoin was made, has been able to improve the original work of Bitcoin. And I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I'll get more into that later. But point blank, the reason I'm saying what makes Bitcoin different than traditional currencies, all cryptocurrency stems from Bitcoin. So I just wanted to start and explain that. Number one, decentralization. No single institution controls the Bitcoin network. Why is that important? It is because, as you know, with any centralized currency, governments usually that run it, they don't always do the right thing, and they don't always have your best interest at heart. So because it is decentralized, you essentially become your own bank. So right now, if I want to send you, whoever's listening, $10,000, we got to go through my banks, or we got to go through our banks, and it's going to take a certain amount of time, and it is going to cost a certain amount of money. Now, it's probably going to take it's probably going to take a couple of days, and there's this whole process, it's this whole thing. Now with cryptocurrency, that's not the case. If I want to send you $10,000, I can send you $10,000, and it's only going to take a couple minutes, and it's only going to cost me a couple dollars. It's going to be very quick and seamless. It's decentralized. A great use case of this, and when it really clicked for me, the decentralized part, I have a friend that works at Shell in the Philippines, and I was talking to him, and he's like, "Look, Rich, I work out here, and I send a large portion of my check back to the United States to take care of my family, and I'm getting destroyed on the currency exchanges, right?" So when anytime that he would get his money in the Philippine dollars, he would then have to convert it to US dollars, which they take money from doing that. And then once he transferred it over, he would get hit with like 40% of his money would be ate up in currency exchanges, expensive wire transfers, XYZ. So what he started to do was transfer all of his money into Bitcoin. And then he would send his Bitcoin overseas. He would save a ton of money, and it would take way less time. And that's powerful. That is extremely powerful. So next up, limited supply. So there's only a finite supply of Bitcoin. There's only 21 million Bitcoins that will ever be made. Now, going back to the earlier statement that I made, why is that important, and how powerful, is it that there's a finite supply? That goes back to the economics of supply and demand. When something is scarce, when there's a finite supply of something, it's going to appreciate in value. It's going to increase in value over time. Now, one of the first thoughts in your head might be, well, if there's only 21 million, can't someone buy all of that up? And then there's not enough to go around. And the answer is no for the next answer, which I'm going to tease for a second because I have another point to make about limited supply. Going back to inflation. Every time that a country gets in trouble, what do? They print more money, and it devalues their money. So prime example, Venezuela. Venezuelan dollars practically are useless. Zimbabwe, you go there, the dollar's virtually useless. And there's all kinds of crazy use cases. I mean, the US dollar, we've inflated ourselves over time, and a bunch of other scenarios of inflation. When things go wrong, you just print more money, and that doesn't solve the problem. So because of the limited supply, the finite supply, that means that you have to be very methodical about how much you have. So then going to, I'm going to skip over this real quick and go to the visibility, and I'm going to jump back up. So the visibility. So the smallest unit is a Satoshi. And what a Satoshi does is basically it breaks down into 100 millionth of a Bitcoin. So 0.08, it goes all the way back there. So with the limited supply, with going back to the limited supply, because it breaks down so much, you can still own $2 worth of Bitcoin, and it's like you own like 0.0 all the way 0.2 of a Bitcoin. So because it divides up so much, even when all 21 million Bitcoins are into the supply, which it isn't right now. I think there's only about 18 million or so. Don't quote me on that number, but that are in supply right now, that are basically being bought, trade, sold, mined, XYZ. And as that continues to increase and that supply goes out, it's fine because of divisibility, which is fine. The next part of it is pseudonymity. So you can be semi-anonymous. So in theory, because there is no central validator, no one can really identify who you are. So this can be both good and bad. So obviously this allows a lot of room of opportunity for people who want to be sketchy. If you want to do transactions that can't really be traced back to you, cryptocurrency is an avenue. Originally, when some of the earlier use cases of cryptocurrency was for something called the Silk Road, and that was for basically a lot of illegal products that you could buy on the internet. Now, obviously, that has evolved since then, and Silk Road no longer exists. But the whole point of the pseudonymity is a lot of people have a feeling that no one, like, how you want to spend your money, how you want to do XYZ is your business, and it's you should be able to do whatever you want, how you want to do it. So at a certain point, I personally agree with that. Now, the challenge with being anonymous or semi-anonymous is that as we get closer into mass adoption, it makes it a lot more challenging to be able to do the everyday use cases of going to a coffee shop and buying something, or going and just buying anything. Like, because once your specific, let's say your Bitcoin address, Ethereum address, whatever it is, once it's identified to you, because it's on the blockchain, you can go back and see previous transactions. So right now, once a person has been identified, because everything is, so going back to blockchain, everything is transparent. If it lives on a blockchain, it's digitally stored. You can go back and follow money. You can go back and see everything, how money has been moved, shipped, XYZ, because they have different validators online that allow you to go and see, like, how are things being moved and how are things working. So it has both pros and cons. It allows transparency, which in a lot of ways, I think transparency is good, but at the same time too, it does put your business out there if someone wants to go and look up stuff. But it's one of the conditions of having or being on a transparent market that is blockchain. But again, going back to if your specific Bitcoin address, which your Bitcoin address can be anywhere from 26 to 32 characters long, if it doesn't directly, if you don't directly put it out there and identify that that is mine, no one's really going to know who that is. And that's going to go back to another issue or challenge that we have right now with decentralization of cryptocurrency. Again, I'm letting you know all the information, the pros and the cons. With it being decentralized, because you are your own bank, if you mess up and send your money to the wrong person or the wrong address or whatever it is, your money's gone. There's no clawback, there's no oopsie, there is no nothing. If you send money to the wrong address, you can always go and see where you sent it. but because of pseudonymity, you have no idea who it is, right? And that is obviously one of the challenges of cryptocurrency. It's another reason that you should be very safe whenever you're buying and selling cryptocurrencies. I always recommend, if you're ever going to send money, you always send the smallest amount that you can, verify that it works, and then send whatever you're going to send. Because if you don't and you send it all and it's to the wrong address, unless it's a really sweet person that somehow you meet and they just send it back, great. If not, I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do legally or just in general. It's gone. So another thing to put on your radar for that. Immutability. So that's going into my next point of transactions cannot be reversed. It's a one-way street. So you have to be extremely, extremely careful. Going back to an earlier point of divisibility, which is the Satoshi. So these are the 5 characteristics. These are the 5 pillars of what make Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies different from traditional currencies. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions on this later. Happy to dive into them. So let's dive into some different ways of how cryptocurrency is being used today, right? So you have ATMs. So obviously you can use them as money. So you can go to some different ATMs that are out there. There is a local company. If you are in the New Orleans, greater New Orleans region, in Louisiana, the South region, it's a company called Pillacoin. It's founded out of here. They have one at Cafe Luna on Magazine Street, and I think a couple other places. But you literally can go to this ATM. You have $100, put in your money, and you can walk away with Bitcoin and some other cryptocurrency. On the flip side, you can do the reverse as well. So let's say you have some cryptocurrency stored on your phone. You can go up to it, put in the address, and then get money out. So it's a two-way street. It's really cool. Of course, you have trading. So there is a lot of opportunity in the cryptocurrency trading market. Just to give you a little background on the trajectory of the evolution of how much money has been put in the cryptocurrency and how crazy it's been. So going back to 2008, Bitcoin was worth a couple pennies, right? So you then jump up to, I think, around 2010, 2011, it jumps up to a couple dollars. Everyone's happy, they made some money, then they gave it away. Then a couple years later, it gets up to a couple $100, and everyone's like, yay, make some more money, and then it goes back down. And at each of these thresholds, so Bitcoin was made in 2009. It had its 10-year anniversary. And obviously, it's one of the largest, quickest, biggest multiplier return, like in an extremely long time, like crazy numbers if you had got in initially, right? But even today, if you go back to the beginning of this year when Bitcoin was worth all the way down to around $3,000, it got all the way back up to 14. It's now presently back around 7,000. And so if you're still looking at, the overall year, it's still up almost over 100%, right? So a lot of opportunity on the trading standpoint. So they have a lot of money, or a lot of people who have come in and started trading it. And there's a ton of exchanges in the United States, internationally. And you don't just trade Bitcoin, you can trade all of the altcoins. They have these things that are called initial coin offerings, which ICO, which is the same as in IPO, initial public offering, which basically says like, hey, we're gonna offer up this coin, or technically because it's an ICO, it's a token. Again, a whole nother can of worms, coins versus tokens. We can dive into that for the hardcore people later. But you have an ICO, and it gives you an opportunity to purchase a coin at its initial offering price. Usually what happens is once it launches, it shoots up and then it goes back down or whatever. But, and a lot of people do like pump and dumps around those. But the whole point of it is people can go and raise a ton of money very quickly. and especially during the hype of cryptocurrency and everything that was going on. So like, again, taking another quick step back to point on the trading standpoint. So back in 2017, beginning of 2018, you saw the largest rise in everything that was going on in the cryptocurrency market. So crypto, Bitcoin in particular, I believe started at around, I think around $3,000 early in 2017. Then you get to the peak of 2018 around 2019. It gets all the way up to close to 20. So it's like 19,000 and some change, and it got up close to 20. And then by the end of 2018, got all the way back down to around $3,000. But during that rise, especially around the end of 2017, early 2018, you saw a ton of ICOs. And for people that are here today, that's probably when around the time either you got into it, first heard about it, or like that was your first introduction into crypto. And if today's your first day, great, new knowledge. But point being, the craze that was cryptocurrency and all this money, you got to think about where we are in the trajectory of cryptocurrency and blockchain as an entire opportunity. So when you look at when the dot-com bubble happened, when you look at when all of this new emerging technology came and the internet was coming, the first 10 years were people that came in, grinded it out, like, and built some really cool technology, but a lot of them didn't make it. But they built the framework and the groundwork for these next companies that were coming, the Googles, the Amazons, a bunch of different companies that were out there, right? Yahoo, that would come and just make a ton of waves and opportunity. And the ones that made it really made it. They were home runs, right? Absolute home runs. But a lot of people, the ones that didn't make it, lost money, did X, Y, Z. But when they were in it and raising money, they raised a ton of money and was able to put it out there because everyone was trying to get into this race. So that's where I look at a lot of what's been happening in the crypto space. You have a lot of money that flooded the market. These ICOs, these IEOs, which is initial exchange offering, right? These companies come in, and you got to still think about, like, for cryptocurrencies to have use case. I mean, for cryptocurrencies to be practical, they must have use case. And one of the ones I'm showing you right now is money. But a lot of these cryptocurrencies aren't really a currency. They're not really meant to be an exchange of money. A lot of them are platforms. They are blockchain platforms where cryptocurrencies are then built on top of them. A prime example is Ethereum. So Ethereum is basically, for any of those who don't know, it is a blockchain protocol where other different cryptocurrencies are being built on top of. They have this thing called ERC20 tokens. So you have non-fungible tokens, which I'm going to show you in the next slide. And point blank period, you use Ethereum to pay for different things, different like use cases on top of its platform, right? And there's a ton of other, like, I would call them blockchain projects that are under the web that is cryptocurrency, like EOS. I think Tron would be another use case. These are projects that are they're not trying to be money. They're not trying to be currency. They are platforms that others can then build on top of and then have opportunities for people to then use as money or use as other things. So bringing it back, because I know trading got onto a whole slew of information, and I still have a ton more to unpack on that, but I'm going to bring it back in and say that with trading and with looking at like prices of cryptocurrency, because I'm sure a lot of you who are here today do look at the markets, do look at like, oh man, Bitcoin's $3,000, oh, it's 10,000, now it's back to 7. It's super volatile, it's all this stuff. And it is extremely volatile. It's going to continue to be a volatile avenue. Again, I'm part of a crypto fund here in town, and this is not financial advice, but with it being a volatile market, one of the ways that you need to look at how you would look at cryptocurrency, this is a high risk, high reward type of opportunity right now. So I wouldn't say take out all your savings, you know, cash out all your 401ks and throw it all into crypto and just have at it. I would say like if I would say if you have 5 to 10% of money that you're willing to part with if worse comes to worse, but if you're willing to invest in a risky place, cryptocurrency would be a great place to look at a lot of this because again, going back to where cryptocurrency is, it's only 10 years old. And the great thing about what happened in 2018 to where it is now when everything went down, everybody thought cryptocurrency's dead, everything is gone, blah, 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 blah. All these companies that raise money, the ones that stuck around and is still building something, they're building something that works. They're building something that has use case, practicality, different ways that people can go and use these cryptos. So you have to also think about their startups. At the end of the day, for all the entrepreneurial people in here, you know, or even if you're in the investment field, 90% of startups fail. 90% of startups fail, but the 10 that make it, man, they pay for all the other ones, right? They pay for everything else, and like it just keeps things moving. And so you have to look at the entire picture of when you look at cryptocurrency as money, and when you look at it as a trading opportunity, it is all those things. But you have to be able to see the entire picture before you get so granular on the day to day, the week to week, the month to month. You got to look at it a little bit bigger than that to really see where this is headed, because this is headed to something really big. And the way I see this is that cryptocurrency itself as a money, as transaction, it's going to go one of two ways. It's going to crash and burn and die and be nothing, or it is going to be huge. I don't think there's an in between. I think that it's got to be either something big. Not to say that all of it's going to be something big. I think some of them will be. You know, Bitcoin is the leader right now. It's the gold standard. Will it be 10 years from now? I don't know. Is it the AOL of the internet age? I don't know. We don't know. We'll find out with time. But there are so many projects in this space being built that work and have great use cases that maybe one of these could be something that completely takes over, right? I'm also going to, talk about, I'm now going to get off my trading platform and switch over into purchasing items. So going back to like as a use case with money. So I believe that you can go to not yet, but Starbucks is going to start accepting cryptos. You go to overstock.com and buy some things using your crypto. You can, I believe Amazon is working on trying to get to a place to where you can start buying things with cryptocurrencies. So there is a lot of adoption coming to where you will be able to buy things with cryptocurrency. The reason why you're not really seeing it at mass and why mass adoption hasn't happened and you're not seeing it every day is that it's not fast enough. There are so many transactions happening every day that cryptocurrency, like currently, it doesn't move fast enough to handle that supply and demand. So a lot of these cryptocurrency projects that are in the works are working to address some of those underlying issues right now. So going back to Bitcoin real quick, and why I say like it's the granddad, it's the old soul, the technology that it was built on, really great code, all of these stuff, not efficient, super inefficient, slow moving, not practical for day to day, like let's make transactions happen. But the entire like purpose of it and its 5 pillars that I just told you about, like all made sense. And it just opened the floodgates to all this opportunity that's now following it, right? So because of that, I don't know if you're ever going to see like Bitcoin get to a point to where it's just day to day, you're using your Bitcoin, simply because it's very slow in the sense of how it validates and does all of that. So next, hedge against inflation. So I talked about this a little bit earlier, but to expand on this, cryptocurrency is huge internationally. Now, there's not a lot of noise. I mean, there's some noise in the US, but like on the scale of where it is internationally, it's just not close. So why is this important internationally? So why would someone in Africa be way more prone to want to use cryptocurrency as opposed to their dollar? Let's break some of that down. One, a lot of them don't have access to institutional money or institutional banking. So they don't have a place to where even if they have money, they can go put it and store it. Two, their money is changing rapidly. So one day it might be this, next day it might be that. but at least they know if they put in something like crypto, even though it might also be changing, it won't be changing at such a rapid pace. And there's also a chance that it also might increase over time. So even though they're putting it in like it's more secure, it's a hedge against inflation of their own country. You saw Venezuela try to make its own coin. China's working on making its own cryptocurrency. There is a ton of different countries that are trying to figure out how do they digitize their money and get behind cryptocurrency. I'm going to talk about this one just because it's out there, and I'm sure a lot of you are waiting for me to talk about it, and I'll do it just for a little bit. Libra. So what is Libra? So for those of you who don't know what Libra is, or Libra coin, that is when Facebook came out and said, hey, we made a cryptocurrency world and we want you to be a part of it. And it got shut down quick. And with vengeance and a lot of the initial support it got, a lot of its backing, people just got out of there once they internationally saw once it got tore apart. So why is it good and bad? I'm gonna first talk about the good. It is good because Facebook saw the biggest problem in the international world, which is most of the world is not banked. Most of the world does not have access to a bank, period. A lot of them, whatever their money is coming from, it's stored on their phone, which obviously if it's on your phone, you lose your phone or whatever it is, you don't have like a digital way to get back to whatever that was, you're in trouble. So first opportunity. Number two, the second reason why it would be good is that it would be something, I would say it's more of a stable coin. So for those who don't know what a stable coin is, a stable coin is trying to be $1. It's trying to be a 1-for-1 value. It's trying to say like when everything else is going wrong and everything's volatile, you put it here and it's going to relatively stay around 1. Not necessarily $1 or whatever it is, it's just 1, right? So Libra coin was trying to become the standard 1 internationally. So obviously that can be good and bad. And I'm gonna talk about the bad in a second. But the third thing of why Libra was good, in my opinion, and the most important reason is that it put a giant light on cryptocurrency. And it was like, oh, if Facebook's working on it, then this is something we should pay attention to. This is something that we should look into. We should start figuring some stuff out. So those are 3 reasons why I think that Libra coin is good. Why I don't think it's a good ultimately, and why I think it pumped its brakes, and why, oh, sorry, one more reason. The 4th reason, Facebook has the best developers in the world, some of the best in the absolute world. And when you put some of the best minds together, creating code for this revolutionary technology that is cryptocurrency and blockchain, they make some really, really great protocols that make a ton of sense, that allow you to build something really great that can work and that can scale and that can address a lot of issues that Bitcoin has, and that some of these other initial altcoins that were made weren't able to address because they weren't thinking big enough at the time. So now tipping over into the why it's bad. One, it's not like people can say what they want. I would argue that Libra coin is not a cryptocurrency. Why? It's centralized, period. Point blank, period. I mean, everyone knows the security issues that Facebook has in the first place. And then 2, when you look at what was behind Libra coin and like all of the initial backers that got into it, if they were all going to be part of this cohort and part of the board that would then regulate how Libra coin was done and blah, 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 you now still have the central entity. The number 1 rule of cryptocurrency is that it's decentralized. So you've already broke number 1 rule. How are you a cryptocurrency? So there's that. And then last but not least, going back to the earlier point, Facebook, if successfully Libra coin were to happen and it was accepted as like the 1, do you know how powerful that makes Facebook? Like, think about that. They are now the standard 1. They are the dollar. They are the euro. They are the whatever. It is the standard 1. And because it's basically the 3rd largest continent on the planet and most people in this world own Facebook, what if they turn into Big Brother one day and they say, hey, I know you have $1 million on this, but you did this on your account. I'm gonna lock you out. This is my money now. What are you gonna do? You can't, because again, going back to centralized, it's not decentralized, all this stuff. It's there are a lot of things, there are a lot of red flags that go off for me with that. So again, I'm gonna get off of that, but Libra coin can be both good and bad. It truly depends on how they decide to set it up. But knowing the world and going back to how governments are set up and how the economy works, people get greedy and people are all about money and people want to make more money. And when that happens and things are centralized, they're not decentralized, people start making bad decisions. It turns into this whole rabbit hole of stuff, and then bad things happen. And I will leave it at that. So next, I will go into another use case, which is mining and staking. So what is mining? So I'm sure all of you, or a good portion of you, have heard of Bitcoin mining, these mining rigs and all these people doing blah, 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 blah. And they're like, what is this? So it's not just the Bitcoin blockchain, but anyone that does mining, they're doing proof of work. So the Bitcoin blockchain is secured by miners who verify transactions between parties and are rewarded for newly generated Bitcoin as a reward for doing so. So Bitcoin essentially, when you think about like, okay, how is this valuable? How is it doing whatever? Bitcoin is constantly solving very complex problems, very complex problems that are then put into its blockchain. So it's verified like effort to solve very complex problems. The value is stored there, and like that is where the value is. And so you're saying that because of this blockchain, because of this proof of complex information that lives here, it is valuable, right? So what these computers, mining rigs are basically just a bunch of CPUs working on very, very complex things all rapidly over time, over and over and over again until it helps secure a block. So this happens for, again, any cryptocurrency that does mining. They do proof of work, which proof of work, again, is going back to solving complex problems or complex things that create a block into their blockchain. And then once a block is made, they are rewarded with a certain amount of reward. So I believe every time that you successfully complete a block for Bitcoin, I think you currently get, don't quote me on this, I think it's right around like maybe 12 Bitcoin or 6 Bitcoin, somewhere in there. But there's a halving event that's happening. So again, not trying to, so for people who is new, this isn't for you, this is for people more advanced. A halving event is coming up. And what that means is, I believe the halving event is upcoming May or June. So every, I think 4 years, or every couple of years, the mining rewards are cut in half. So let's say Bitcoin, for every Bitcoin that you mine, you get 6. So when the halving event happens, you now go to 3. And usually, what does that mean? So if you're doing more work but you're getting less money, things usually appreciate. And appreciate just means it's worth more, because that also means like it's usually a cause and effect type of deal. So a lot of people are ramping up, and this is talking back to some of you traders and people who are watching the market. A lot of people are very watchful that you could see a large run up in the crypto market happen because of this halving event that is coming up halfway through next year. So again, going back to mining, I'm now going to go to staking. So the kind of the two ways where these cryptocurrencies are getting their value outside of the trading, the supply and demand of trading, like how are they actually getting their value? Like, what is Bitcoin actually? It's through mining these highly hard computational things. We're going to talk about staking. So staking is the process of holding funds in a cryptocurrency wallet to support the operations of a blockchain network. So what does that mean? So you have these so once you own one of these cryptocurrencies that does staking, you can put a certain amount into basically holding. So a good way to put this would be like a CD, right? So you have a CD that you can go and buy. Hold on one second. Oh, thank you, Bruce. Yeah, every 4 years. Having events happen every 4 years. Appreciate that, Bruce. Get back out of here. Sorry. All right. So anyway, sorry about that. Getting back. So staking. So you put a certain amount in there, a CD. So you go and, or even let's call it I don't know if it's as similar to a bond, but you buy at a certain amount and then it appreciates over time. You get a certain amount back in return for holding it over time. So you buy it at a cheap amount and then it gets older than that. I wouldn't equate it to a bond. I would say, just point blank period, you put in, let's call it not 10 Bitcoin, Tezos. Tezos is a prime example. Tezos is on Coinbase. For all you who don't know about Tezos, I would look into it. It's a pretty cool project. I know one of the people that are part of the foundation, and worth looking into. They allow for staking on Coinbase right now. And what that means is you buy a certain amount, you hold it there, and then you are rewarded after a certain amount of time has passed, or after a block is made with the amount that you have been involved with. And all of this is doing is again, going back to the complex problems that you're solving, it's helping make those happen because you're holding those coins in reserve to help with the computing power to help. So you don't have to go and buy these rigs, which is for mining. You just hold it digitally in this digital virtual place, and then it literally makes you money over time. So that would be the best way to try to paint that picture. Happy to dive into that a little bit deeper for anyone who has questions later. Okay, another fun example of cryptocurrency, and this is the funnest one, and like this one blows my mind. So NFTs, non-fungible tokens. So a lot of these are built from Ethereum, and Ethereum request for comment is known as the non-fungible token standard 721, aka ER721, are NFTs. There are a lot of examples. I am going to start with the one that's probably caught your eye. So CryptoKitties down at the bottom. So this lovely little cat, digital cat, was purchased for 600 Ether, which at the time was worth about $170,000. So I want everybody to marinate on this for 2 seconds if you've never heard of this, and even for if you have heard of this. Someone paid $170,000 for this virtual cat. Yep. So imagine like you know, the Barbies that you would collect, or the Beanie Babies. You go and collect those, and some of those are worth like a ton of money. So basically someone's like, how could I do this digitally, and how could I turn it into a cat? They created CryptoKitties. So you go and spend Ethereum to purchase these cats. You can breed these cats. I know this sounds insane. I actually went, once I heard of this, I was like, I gotta just go do it, right? So I bought a CryptoKitty. I spent like 1 ETH. So at the time it was like $20-something, and you can breed your cats. They can have kids. You can then sell your kids or whatever it is, the kitties, by all means. It's a whole thing. And I know you're either laughing or like, this is ridiculous or whatever. Y'all, this is serious, and people are seriously making money off of CryptoKitties. Another use case is super rare. So this picture all the way to the right with, which I thought was a very appropriate picture. I went and got it before this meeting, is bulls versus bears. So for any traders in here, you understand that. So to explain that for you real quick, a bear market just means the market is going down, aka the prices are going down. Bull market, prices going up, rising up. And in 2018, they call it, you know, the great pumping up, because everybody saw, like, with the prices just shooting up as much as they did, they're like, huh, this has got to go down. So for the people who are traders who understood like how it works, they're like, okay, now's a good time to take out. And for all the people who knew nothing about crypto, they're just like, hey, you should put your money in this, and they did. And they lost a lot of their money, or their money isn't worth as much now. Is because, number one, if you are ever going to trade anything in your life and you don't understand it, it's probably not a good idea. You should try to understand as much as you can before you do it. But then two, you have to be able to go and understand where markets currently are before you decide to just dive head first and put an absorbent amount of money into it. So anyway, I thought that picture was funny. But anyway, this picture was made online on this thing called superrare.io. I would recommend going and checking this website out. It is super cool. It's digital art. They have like GIFs on there. They have all this stuff. But why this is cool, even with the CryptoKitties, you can see when, going back to the picture in the CryptoKitties, you can see when it was made, who owned it, how much it was sold for, and a lot of, like, going back to art, like, why is art important? When you look at like what makes art valuable, usually it's who painted it, are they alive, are they dead, and how much is somebody willing to pay for it, right? Willingness to pay. But a lot of it wants to know is it the original? Are these copies? Like, obviously the original is always going to be worth more than, you know, everything else. The original Mona Lisa is quote unquote priceless, but like counterfeits of it are sold for X amount. how this is cool and practical, a practical use case is that a lot of these artists who put stuff on the internet, who take pictures, who do XYZ, people can go and rip them off. People can go and take them off and claim it as their own, like they made it in XYZ. And there's no way to really prove one way or the other. So with NFTs and ERC21 tokens, you always see like who originally made this, who owns it, who's the rightful owner, who is the author of this creation, and you can always follow it all the way back. But then like if you decide to sell it over time, you can always go back and see like what was it previously sold for, so you always know how much it reasonably should cost. So that is very powerful. Another cool thing that happened, this last one right here is crypto baseball. So they did a partnership with MLB Baseball, and you could go and buy these virtual bobbleheads, these virtual stadiums, all this virtual stuff. And one of the first ones to do it was the San Diego Padres. So you could go, I think it was last year, you went to a game and they gave you like this digital card, and there's like an app you could go download, and like you put it on there. And if you ever done like any AR, you basically can like look at your phone and have it sit on your desk, your bed, or whatever it is, and walk around it, look at it, flip it upside down. It's had this 3-dimensional thing. And so basically you have these trading cards, these 3-dimensional figures, all of these things that are these cryptocurrencies, and like you own them and they're valuable. And like just imagine like all the things that you can now digitize and sell and make profit and like do all this stuff. And like that is the world that like we're just at the beginning of. And again, this is going to non-fungible tokens. So I also messed up because I should have talked to you about like fungible versus non-fungible. So fungible is basically whatever you trade for, it's something. So if I give you $1 right now, if it's from 1952 or 2008, it doesn't matter, it's $1, right? Non-fungible is one of a kind. So if you're on a plane and you have a plane ticket, that is a non-fungible ticket. Once it's used, it's one and done, you're done. So all of these are non-fungible, they're one of a kind. There's also another one that I didn't include that I recommend. It's called Decentraland. Decentraland is a virtual world where you can go and like have your own house. You can go in like these creations, these crypto, like all this stuff. You can go and you can use it and put it in your virtual world. You can buy virtual land. And as crazy as this sounds, people went and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars buying virtual property to then go build virtual houses and virtual things inside of it and have this whole virtual community. Now, again, this might sound crazy or mind-blowing or whatever it is, but it's a real thing. It's being used. Back at the Crypto Current Conference, our speaker, Carthon, did a really good speech on it. I have the presentation online, worth looking at. It like honestly, it like blew my mind, the kind of things that they're building. Super cool. Highly recommend going and check that out. Another use case is smart contracts. So most of what a lot of this crypto and blockchain space is going to is smart contracts, because they're very practical. So contracts that are executed automatically without the help of a third party. The best case scenario, if you want to go to a vending machine and you want to get those cookies or those chips or that drink, no one else needs to be there. You put in your dollar, you press the thing, and you get it. If this, then that. Just think of smart contracts as if this, then that. There's a ton of different ways where this is extremely practical and can be used. So one of the ways in blockchain that this could be used is, let's say you're a renter, right? Or you own a house, and or I'll go back to a car. So if you're renting a car, and let's say you pay the money, like as soon as you get out, you pay the X amount of money, and once that money is hit, your key is then released from a kiosk, right? So you get your key, you go do whatever, and then once the key is returned, then whatever deposit you have instantly goes back into your account. A lot of moving parts, but basically you set this all up on this if this then that, and it's just a seamless. You don't need to be present for it to happen, and there's a lot of ways and a lot of use cases to where if this then that makes a ton of sense and can be used. So where can I purchase and learn more about cryptocurrency? So right now, all of you, I don't know if you've ever done this. If you want to earn free money today, and I'm absolutely 100% mean free money, this is not a joke, this is not a scam. If you're on Coinbase, if you're not on Coinbase, go make a Coinbase account. And if you are on Coinbase, go to coinbase.com/earn. And you literally go on here and you earn free money for learning about the various projects that are on Coinbase right now. You literally take courses. If you watch like a minute video, you answer A, B, C, or D on a thing. You do that like 3 times. The next thing you know, you get $6. You get whatever. Now, obviously, it'd be great if you got it and held on to it, let it do what it do. But if you're just like, whatever, I want to cash out, you literally can go earn all this money, cash out, and you just got 20 to 50 more dollars that you didn't have. It's literally free money to educate you on cryptocurrency. You're doing yourself a disjustice if you do not. Literally, in the next, by the end of this weekend, go to Coinbase /earn and take these free courses and earn your free money. And then share it with people so you can earn more money, and then let them know about all this stuff that's going on. It's literally getting paid to educate yourself on the different cryptocurrencies. So obviously, Coinbase is basically the standard of the way for you to be able to trade in the U.S. In cryptocurrency, or not even trade, just buy various cryptocurrencies. If you have Cash App, you actually can buy Bitcoin on that too, if you want to. There's Binance, Kraken, 8 Bitcoin ATMs that are around, and there is a thing called CoinMarketCap. And this is more for the learning piece. If you go on coinmarketcap.com right now, you will be able to see all of the top cryptocurrencies, right? They do 1 through 100, actually do all of them. You can go on there and learn about any project. You can go on there and see what their prices were from when it was created, from inception to today. You can go and look on, they always have a link to the website of the project. So then you can go do a research on whatever that project is. They have different charts and various things on there. It's a huge, great resource to go learn about new projects that you otherwise didn't know existed, and then to do your own research in there. And I highly, highly, highly recommend, if you're ever going to invest or buy a cryptocurrency, before you do it, go research it. At least spend a couple of minutes, go, do whatever it is. Just take some time. There's just so many. And Eric, thank you so appreciate that. There's a ton of different referral links that you can use to like get people involved with using getting involved with a lot of these different platforms in XYZ. So I left just enough time for 30 minutes worth of questions. I know we unpacked a lot. The last thing that I want to say was, I know I just threw out a lot of information. Hopefully it was done in a way that makes a lot of sense. But I have a lot of information on our podcast, which can be found at cryptocurrent.com, .co. We have a lot of like blogs and a lot of other information on there that's very useful. We have some videos from our conference. If you want to go check out things that happened at our conference last year, and if you want to get in touch with me, contact with me, my email address is right there. I respond. And yeah, I'm looking forward to all the questions that y'all have.
Thanks so much, Richard. And for those of y'all who are still with us, please ask questions. You'll see the Q&A in the bottom center panel. I see some people putting it through chat. Joseph Fang, do you think the Bitcoin protocol is mature enough the government can't shut it down?
I don't think that Bitcoin can be shut down from our government. It's beyond our government, in my opinion. I think that things can be put in place to make it harder to get, so they can do everything they can to like try to get you to not be able to get it. But I don't think the government is in a place or a position to shut it down. I think they try to get in front of it. I think they're smart. They try to get in front of it and figure out how can the US try to get into this digital market and make regulations that are empowering and not limiting. But I also know that at the end of the day, they're centralized. They want the power. They want to make sure they can get their taxes or all this stuff, and they still can, and they still are. It's just all in how regulations go. There is a huge court case going on right now with the company Telegram, and I'm watching it very closely, because basically how they rule on this is going to decide how the SEC rules on the identification of, cryptocurrencies as assets or securities, or however they want to be ruled. So if you're like watching it closely, I would watch the Telegram case.
Any other questions? We'll give y'all a second. I know it's a lot of good information to digest. Looks like we had one from earlier, Caleb, who I think had to hop. Playing devil's advocate here, your example of sending money overseas, the virtually no fees makes sense. However, when that person wants to convert that Bitcoin to their local currency, they'll be hit with fees then. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so, and that's a really good point. The challenge with once you convert it to your current country's currency, you're going to get hit with a fee. So I'm not saying like you're going to get hit with a fee, period. You might as well not get hit with fees 4 ways, right? Or 3 ways, or however you're going to do it. And also for speed, and also for when you want to cash it out. So if you need to cash today, obviously you can go cash it out right now. But also if you're like, hey, I got this money, I'm gonna let it ride. I'm gonna ride the market and see if it goes up or does whatever, you can do that as well. But yes, that is always going to be a challenge of when you cash it out, even if it's not US dollars, if you exchange it in euros or whatever it is, like something's going to come with that. Or even like from a tax implication, once you cash out money, depending on what exchange you're on, SEC is trying to get into a lot of these exchanges to understand when people are taking out money, because that's a taxable event. So you're then going to have to decide like how much money am I putting aside to then also include this in my capital gains tax. So there's a ton of implications and things that are still being figured out, but like that is a very good point of you're going to have to spend some money on that.
Just got a question from Rambod. Which platform has the lowest fees?
Lowest fees. So honestly, all the fees are pretty high. I would say Kraken's fees aren't too horrible. So if you're on Coinbase, I would go to Coinbase Pro. Coinbase Pro's like if you're like trading all the time, the fees are way less. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, because of the fact that a lot of exchanges in the US know that they're going to have to deal with the SEC and all this other kind of stuff, the way that they make their money is on these super high fees, because they are super liable if the government decides they want to crack down and do whatever, or the constant threat of being hacked or whatever it is. That's how they make their money. So I get it, but yeah, fees are like, that's always going to be just part of it.
Another question came through, one from Samuel Lovett. What are some BTC wallet platforms you'd recommend?
BTC wallet platforms I recommend. So Waze is one. Excuse me, I'm gonna grab my phone. There was one I was on the other day that I don't recommend because I didn't have a lot on there, but it did get hacked and I didn't appreciate it. Edge Wallet. Do not use Edge Wallet, in my opinion. I had some Dogecoin on there, if anyone had heard of it. And yes, I know that Dogecoin is probably a joke, but like I was like, why not? Just own a little bit. And it somehow got hacked, so don't recommend Edge Wallet. Exodus Wallet is really cool. Also Engine Wallet, and that's ENJIN Wallet. Engine Wallet's pretty cool as well. But Exodus, they have quite a few of the cryptos that are tougher to store that you can put on there. So I really like those two.
Question.
And, one more thing I was going to add to that. Again, going back to being secure, I use Ledger. So Ledger cold storage. So you have hot storage and cold storage. Hot storage is I have money, I can use it, I can do things. So that's like if you buy something on Coinbase and it's sitting there, that is called hot storage because you can do anything with it right now. Cold storage is when you take it off of that and it's just sitting dormant in your house or somewhere safe, secure, whatever. It's basically like a flash drive. So I use Ledger Wallet to put some of my cryptos in that. And that way, I have access to it. I have control of my money, and whenever I want to cash out, I do whatever, like I can. But that's going back to one of the cool properties of cryptocurrency is that you literally become your own bank and can safely make sure that it's safe.
Eric had commented that Monarch is a rockin' platform.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Monarch?
I'm not. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Another one from Eric. What are your thoughts on the increased centralization of exchanges as an ATRAC service, colored coins? Hopefully you pronounced that correctly.
ATRAC colored coins. So I don't want to misspeak to the question, but from what I understand of what you're asking, with it being like centralized, like basically the price discrepancies, if I'm not mistaken, right? So basically how you basically can go from exchange to exchange, and because it's difference in price, you can make a little bit on each time that you change through. And as they become more centralized and they're all like the standard, there's less opportunity for that. But then also, like, there's always going to be a challenge with all of these exchanges trying to have like what is a fair market price, right? As they get more centralized, I don't know that it's good. I think that for a decentralized market to occur, it's got to stay decentralized, and it's got to like it's got to be just that. So I mean, I don't want to misspeak to your question, but I'm just going to say that I think that prices shouldn't be converging like a ton, but there should be that element of decentralization.
And he just followed up saying he meant to say attack surfaces, not attack surfaces. So the question would be then, what are your thoughts on the increased centralization of exchanges as an attack surface?
Oh, like, are they going to get more attacks? Oh my gosh, yeah. They're super susceptible. I mean, look at Binance. Binance got one of the biggest hacks ever, and then had to pay back all of its people, and like that's going back to the fees. They're going to be super susceptible to hacks, and again, going back to cryptocurrency, it's immutable. You can't retrace it. You can't bring it back. So like once that's gone, once it's stolen, it's stolen. And that's a lot of like risk you are taking when you open up these exchanges. So I think it's only gonna get worse, which then means like the security and the measures that they're gonna make to make sure like all of this stuff is done correct. Yeah, yeah.
Next question comes from Ryan McFarlane. For the machines you mentioned for Bitcoin mining, do you happen to know if these machines are super expensive or something the average Joe can purchase?
So my understanding is it depends on what your definition of expensive is, but I think at one of the cheaper ones that I found that actually do a decent job, it's about $500, right? So of course, the more you have, the more computer power you have, the more that you can get. But it's truly an investment in it. But like once you have it, it's just you can run into the ground. You can just keep going, right? The challenge then becomes like your electricity bill and the heat. These things emit so much heat. Like there are people who like will have like these rigs in their house and they really won't turn on the heater. They would just have those machines running and like just like let it spit out all of that energy. So I think that just depending on how many so ASIC is like one of the more popular ones. You can go get like these ASIC cards. It's actually cheaper right now, especially if you like I think Bitmain, you can go and buy some from there. They are cheap compared to the highs of what they were in 2018. I think they're only going to progressively start getting hiked back up as this market starts to turn the corner. But I still think that they're a super viable option, and they will eventually become like a profitable thing to do, but there is an initial investment into it. But again, it goes back into you spend an initial certain amount of money, but if it's always working and always turning on and like getting the rewards that it's worth, it pays for itself over time. So it's just those for that, I think it's a matter of crunching numbers, deciding like how much time, effort, energy you want to like use, and then like, does that make sense? And I recommend that for anybody that wants to get into mining. Like it's all on like how much money can you initially put up, and then how much time do you have to be okay with making that money back before you make a profit.
Another question about mining from Chris Culp. Are there any cryptos worth mining right now on GPU rigs?
Ooh, that's tough on GPU rigs. So full disclosure, like I am not as super heavy into mining as some of my counterparts. I have like two friends who are hardcore mining guys who literally say like it doesn't matter what it is, mine it, because in the long run, like these are pennies on the dollar to what they potentially could be. I have heard, and again, this isn't financial advice. Heard Ravencoin's been doing pretty well. I heard that Ethereum's hit or miss. Some of it's good or bad. Yeah.
Cool. Do we have any other questions? Give you all a couple of seconds to type them out. While we're waiting, I was so glad you brought up CryptoKitties. The first time you'd mentioned that, I got such a great laugh and had a lot of fun looking at them. Y'all, you should look them up. They're wild.
Oh, it's insane. It's so crazy. And like just seeing like the parents and like how they all like came, yeah, it's wild. But the other one too, super rare, y'all. Like go in there and just like spend 10 minutes just looking at the creations that people make. People are so creative. I wish I was that creative. Like it's so cool, some of the stuff that people are making.
Well, it doesn't look like any other questions have come through. So thank you so much, Richard, for your time, for putting this together, y'all. His email address is there on the screen, cryptocurrent.co@gmail.com, if you want to keep the conversation going. Again, we are Tech Talent South. Richard is our guest speaker today. My name is Mary LaChapelle. If you're interested in learning about our classes or upcoming events in any of our markets, definitely let me know. I'll be sure to email you all the details, links to everything upcoming. Thank you for deciding to spend an hour with us. I know there's a lot of places you could be, and we're all really grateful. So hope to see you next time. Oh, just saw the comment. You're welcome, Rempa. Thank you for attending. We'll see y'all later.
Appreciate y'all.
Thanks, Richard.